Hello, everybody. Welcome to YouTube Masterclass. This is not the actual semester starting yet. I know we're all wondering when the next semester is going to start, and well, we're not all wondering that. Just two or three people that are taking my class. There's actually a lot more than that. There's thousands of people taking this class now. Uh, some of my it's a USC Harvard Calarts class. It's on cinema studies all the way through. We might get to some production work in a few years and show you how productions go, but I think for now we're going to stick with the critical studies format and be a film school for Harvard UC CalArts class on cinema production and cinema history and cinema theory and philosophy. And we look at those things so we heighten the value of what our movies are, which we already have an extreme value on the movies. Then we heighten our value of it by drawing attention to it. And really, the point of aesthetics is that if all the art is being used to pronounce the art or even make it subtle, it's something that attracts us to the art if we read the explanation of what it's supposed to convey. And conveyance is a meaning of describing something through words and visions and archetypes and mythologies. So we teach cinema masterclass, and the point of that also is not just to enjoy the movies, but really when you learn how movies are made, you can learn how to make them. I mean, and I don't mean like making it hands-on. I mean like in a book, reading straight across. If you learn from the book how to read it, is to discover how they made Singing in the Rain, for instance, on the BFI book of it. And I think that was Jonathan Kaplan, if I do reserve right. But anyway, the point, and I'm sorry for my mistake on that. I should have looked at it. But if you look at the movies on the BFI and the British films, they have a different version of all movies, you can tell from reading it. So now you're reading about how to make movies, and like then you're going, well, I only finished one version when I took my final edits out. And then it's like, well, if I took my final edits out, then I learned from the book how to do that. So you can move on from there and seeing how you can learn from a book to make a movie if you read how they do it. And this is written a lot better, but if you read about the Singing in the Rain book, you can see how they made that film and then how to make a film yourself that way. And why people make films like the other films is because A, they like making reference to it. That's an aesthetic. It's called intertextuality. The movie has like value with other movies. And we've gone through this in Masterclass, so we don't need to go through it again. And I'm sorry I started teaching there. But I'm just saying there's a little bit to know about why we do cinema studies. And the point is because the real reason is because everyone really deep down loves movies. I've never met anyone who didn't like movies. I mean, there's a couple of people that are like, yeah, they're too noisy and everything nowadays. That means they watched them back in the day. And they still had a big movie impulse, and so I think that if we can look at this class kind of as a film appreciation, but then also film production, but also film history. And that's why we went over D.W. Griffith last semester. It was an auteur in film history. And the auteur is an author, it's a director. And we learned all this in class, but and this is an interim, by the way. This isn't the real class. You can take notes, but there's not much taught here. It's mostly an informational about what I do as professor on Masterclass. We've established that. And then, so I missed that last point, but the point is that like there's film history, and D.W. Griffith, the auteur, shows some of the beginnings of American history. And furthermore, the film history is important because you can learn how to make films. So the film that's coming after the other film is going to have techniques of that film, because not only is it a studio the same, or for instance, not only is the director the same, but the genre is way different. So the production design is different. But that doesn't mean every shot of the film is exactly the same, film to film, just because it's the same director. They use they use the time duration based on the shot itself. Like how long, not just attention span either. It's like if you look at an image and you see it still and you see it long and you see it going, then it's persistence of vision. And um, the film, excuse me, I was caught off guard by that one. The film is going to arrive at the conclusion that the film is with us. The film is our friend. The film is our guide. The film is our narrative. It's our description. It's our hope. It's our distraction. You know, it's not just for time allotment, but you're looking at a picture and it can be on there for 3 seconds because they time that's how long in context with all the other shots that kind of a shot should mathematically be there in that determined second. It's not like they're just flicking a remote and so, well, in some cases they have to flick a remote, but they still have to time it identically to where the cuts go. And you know, some people say that jump cuts are easy to do because you can do them anywhere. But there's still a precision that has to be mastered with the jump cut because it's illegal to move in certain ways in the editing process. For instance, if you shot a shot and you shot it all the way and then edited it right to the point of the next shot and the next shot took place right after it, then it'd be a drag on. It'd be like, well, we're a run-on sentence. Now, being me, I've done that before on purpose, but it was a different one that was timed differently, where we had one long shot for about an hour, and then it was stopped, and then the next week we went back and shot it in the same place, and it looks identical. You set it up, so it's really hard to do. But why we did that was just so I could say that's the shot we can use and prove we can use. But I do that sometimes, but that was on Two Badass Businesses, this show I used to have. And I still have it because it's pretty popular online and things are doing good. You know, my PhDs are all in good shape. Nobody's taking any of my PhDs away. My jobs are good. I still work for Rolling Stone. You know, I still work for Weekly World News. And today I found out I still had my job at Scientology, which I was really relieved to find out because sometimes they'll get into my computer and ghost in the machine it at Scientology, and I'm worried that but I'm not really worried my doctrine's going to be off. I'm worried because I'm the only person in Grand Junction, Colorado right now that is a Scientologist, minister. So I'm not going to start a church though, because if I did, because I studied religion too in college, and if I did start a church, it wouldn't be here because, it'd be like the only Scientology church to get a bomb dropped on it or something. And I don't mean they dislike Scientology. It's that whole fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is usually what keeps people from. It can keep people from everything that could be loving and holy to them. But holy is the wrong word, because holy is kind of like one of those Christian words that's like, let's put it up high and bless it. Man, you don't put things on high. Things are already on high, dude. If you get to be around high, they will contact you, and it's like, okay, not you. It's not like I just get to be there and do this. It's the fear of disappointment, the fear of going down the wrong path. I mean, I've wound up on the back roads of California, lost and homeless, just losing my car, So I've walked over bridges, it's scary when you're homeless, but I'm not asking for pity. It's one of the things I went through to train to be a philosopher. And it wasn't just, and if I told that story 10 years ago, it would have got me thrown in the hospital immediately for saying it. But now I have a good relationship with them because they actually found out that, I have the real imprint for it. There's a lot of things you can't do until you get your PhD. I encourage you to do it. If you can get past the fear of the unknown, getting your PhD, I encourage it, because it always adds amenities as it goes, and things get easier over time, sure, but you can see still that in this early second year of Masterclass that not everything goes according to plan, and you don't always get what you want, and you can't always just, you can try and fly as high as you want, but it's not really a disappointment to know that the majors were already hand-picked long ago in history. I mean, it's not like the Illuminati theory. I'm not just saying that the the major players in movie industries were all set up from the beginning of time. But guess what? They were all set up since the beginning of time. Now, you can argue this theory, but I already know that because I was not set up from the beginning of time. I had to kind of, you know, fall down some wells to get there. And that's why you're not like really mad about it later, because you're like, if something goes wrong with the film, you're like, oh, this could be worse, you know? Like in Bowfinger, where it's like, that's not the worst I've had to deal with, I swear it. Or whatever you say. That's a good one. Like, I've had it worse than this, and, you know, the camera explodes. I'm like, well, I've had it worse than this, you know? So, but I'll play music. I do books. I don't know if I've told my masterclass that I write books. I wrote, 2 summers ago, I wrote the book Genji the Summoner, and it was a big hit. Yeah, come on. It was a really big hit. Not a lot of people knew that I wrote that, but it's Tale of the Genji retold. And I think I might have said that on Masterclass, because Genji the Summoner went big in Japan, and everybody in Japan like ordered a copy, and that was cool. And then in music, I've got some albums. I got this album named Curse of Salem, and that's the one that I'm having Steven Spielberg look at. I know I've told Masterclass that. We shouldn't really butt into that too much. It's done. It's making money. I don't need to worry about it. And then there's a certain movie I'd last turned in. It was called The Long Lonely Walk to the Dispensary. And I like Long Lonely Walk to the Dispensary. It turned out it was my 3rd feature this year. And I've had tons of features, like the most American feature films, but I'm not like one of the majors. I work with the majors, but I'm not one of the majors. I'm just this guy who's an independent filmmaker, who's a broke art house director, and all my films went commercial anyway. So that's cool. But I had done some work on this film, The Long Lonely Walk to the Dispensary. And it, like I was saying, it was like the 172nd film I made, which is more than Michael Curtiz. But the Michael Curtiz Foundation said they're counting me as the higher director of numbers. I'm not going to get a Guinness Book. My friends from Iran have directed 10 more movies than me, and we're not really competing anymore, because it's not like we're slowing down, but we're where we're at. Lonely Walk to the Dispensary was last month, or like a month before. It was like 2 months ago. Oh, where did the time go? So I filmed it first person POV, and it was kind of like a video game. I think I told you about that. And it looks like a video game because it looks like you're walking, like, it's not a shooter. Like, you're not Grand Theft Autoing it, you know, or Halo or anything. It's like, but you walk around like in the first person, and it looks like a directional pad almost is controlling it, and that it's like a video game getting him around the few roads. But then you look at like a real movie that's like really come out in theater, really part of the majors, is like Ready Player One, where it's like you really feel like you're in a video game. And the only reason that mine was cool was because there's always weed use in my film, and I was told a long time ago to put tons of weed in my movie. That way I would always have a success. And that can be expensive, but it's a good investment, let me tell you. And Ready Player One doesn't exactly have anybody chiefing up in it because it's, you know, messianic, and that's cool. I'm not dissing that. But it isn't, it's kind of a dystopia. There's kind of like there's this, it's almost like one long take of the Silver Surfer flying through town. I mean, from a first person perspective, like that idea, except it's done in such a big way that everything's getting bigger and bigger in the film. So I'm only going to waste your time with about 5 more minutes today. We need to cut this short because I have a feeling there's other things going on that are more important than this. And I was just setting up an establishment as to who I am, why we study cinema, and what classes we offer. So now I'm going to tell you what classes we offer. We offered film criticism, that 1 and 2, those are finished all the way. If you turned in your finals to Coursera, get your finals into Coursera, and you can get your credit for the class. It's four credits for film criticism 1, 4 credits for film criticism 2, and 3 credits for the class we had during the summer, which was on special effects. And I thought that was the way we should teach it, even when we teach the making of film, because with special effects, we talked about all the different ways films were made with special effects and how I think 100% of all films have special effects. And I could get into that theory why. It's mainly because everything that you change from the original structure is a special effect. But because even an in-camera one would have to be live at the time. It's not just because they edit it later and put them in, but most of them are. So they have a film special effects class in the summer, and I did, and I taught it, and it was, so far we're doing good. We haven't made Harvard mad, we haven't made Calarts mad, and we haven't made USC mad. I was talking with Calarts yesterday, and they were telling me that it's going pretty good, and they reminded me of something, by the way. And you can say the majors are great, yes, but they were reminding me of something that is great usually after it's gone and you have a memory of it. But something that's good is what we can be. We can be good at something, but the exaggeration that everything is perfectly awesome was a little bit over-conveyed in the message of film theory. But I have to say, I don't really care, because I'm totally obsessed with film. I'm totally drunk on film. I'm wired on film. Film runs through my veins. I watch silent films on my computer constantly. And everything I think about is film. So if I'm exaggerating that things are great, well, I'm not talking about my films. That's art. It's good, whatever. So in these interims, if I've said that my films are great, I didn't mean that in an exaggerated sense. They're good. I mean, I can't even judge them as good because it's me. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to watch 5 minutes and know it went the way I wanted it to. And then I'm like, after that, I'm like, well, it went the way I wanted it to. And I've seen the movie while directing it. You see a movie while you direct it. So it's like, And I'm just telling you that my work isn't like great. I'm not trying to exaggerate anything, but I had to clear up that point, because it is true that once something's gone, that's wonderful. After it's gone, you have a memory of it, then you're like, that is wonderful. So you can pump up the old filmmakers all you want. I know there was a lot of controversy with the other class I taught, and that's what we just finished up with, and that was the D.W. Griffith's Tour. I spoke about that a little, but that was of a controversial nature because of its multiculturalism. And there's also some scenes in it that I'm not sure if they're in it or not, but Dr. Boyd had said at USC that they'd found some scene where some Indian is going in a haystack with some girl. And I don't know if he was joking, but it was supposed to be an offensive scene. He said he was offended, and sometimes he tricks me with jokes, but with D.W. Griffith and the government working on a film, I wouldn't freaking disbelieve it. And that there was one where there was like a guy driving by like a saloon and like shoots somebody. I'm like, I saw that one. That's in my version. I shouldn't have said that though, because they'll all come looking for it, the movie snatchers. Yeah, my versions are a little different than everybody else's. I hate to give away that secret, but I'm not going to go much into that secret, except it's just a different edited version. It was filmed different, edited version, written a little differently, but it's the same movie, shot different way. We did that with Origins of the Damned, but I'm not going to go into how to do that, because that's impossible for me to explain even in like 8 lectures how to do that. Let's just put it this way. It's a different way to look at it when you've got more than one option. And plus, a personalized film is always good, when they're sending you a personalized film, And there's other ways to, like, I made some decent revenue off of some features and ended up buying. I didn't buy anything, but this guy on LinkedIn was seeing how much good I was doing for everybody and how I was showing everybody around. And by the way, the reason I'm not always active on LinkedIn, I still am, but is because I overfilled the space on the LinkedIn hard drive. With not really partly with a poetry book, but I already had as many jobs as I could get from there. And then I had to start building other jobs for my PhD on other sites. So I'm not bragging again. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that, like, the school organization has helped me so much that finally this guy gets on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Here, I want you to have my movie." And I was like, "I talked about this, it's cool, but you get this like movie handed to you, and then it's yours. It's not just personalized. It's not just your edit. It's your movie now." So I was thinking about re-releasing it. No, I'm kidding. I already re-released it. It didn't make a change on it. Just set up a better color correction, and it was good. And I'm not going to bother you guys anymore. I was just telling you who I was. I'm Dr. Aaron Sheely. I don't really need to keep going. I was going to go to 30 minutes. It's kind of arbitrary at this point because this isn't the class being taught. This is just like one of those shots, I didn't disappear, run away, or get fired from Masterclass. I haven't lost any of my 100 jobs or whatever there are. There's actually more like 79, 78 jobs that I do. And heck, I know some people that do like 300 jobs at once, and most of the majors, they're like that. They'll do 300 jobs at once, and that takes everybody doing that to do that. And I know that sounds like I'm saying they work harder, but they work way harder. So, and we're not just saying that. But I like movies. Sometimes I say they're really, really wonderful. If I'm saying that about my own films, I try to be observant only because they make me laugh, smile. It's like you look in the mirror and you see me holding a big fat joint. I mean, who's not going to love that? But people that don't like weed aren't going to love it, and they're going to protest, and to the point that they wake up Dark Lord, and then he'll come and steal all their weed and bring it to me. So, Dark Lord, if you can hear me. No, I'm kidding. All right, well, that was just for fun. See, I exaggerated. I made it sound like one of my movies was good just because I liked it. No, I'm kidding. All right, well, we'll talk later, and everybody have a peaceful holiday season. Love you all. Hope you have a good contextual intertextuality study from reading a book about a film. Not, you can read the script too, but that's about the film, but that's about the dialogue and the setting and the changing movements. And then you can read a book about a film, which is more about the philosophy, the aesthetics of that movie. And we went over aesthetics as being art, and the discussion of why we think it's art, and the discussion of what provokes us to different types of art and what types of art are in a genre and how they attract or entice certain audiences. Like women like musicals and men like westerns isn't really a sexist thing to say because they're just genres people like. I know there's critics that would say, oh, that's immediately sexist because it puts people in categories. Well, they both like both, but I've, just seen like normal, everyday ho-hum people. We're not necessarily that, but that women like musicals, it's probably because there's more women in them. And there's more men in westerns. But that in and of itself is kind of a sexist problem because then you're like, well, why didn't they integrate those movies with more men and women anyway? Why didn't, since they were all the ones that did good, and I'm not bagging on the movies, but if there was the same amount of women as the same amount of men, or more women than men, it doesn't have to be a musical, I'm telling you. But if it is, I'm not going to blow the horn on you, okay? It's your favorite genre, you like it. I'm not saying, again, that you have to be that way. I'm just saying that's the statistic. And so that makes me wonder if it changed to more of a women-friendly medium. You could have more of them in the movie, more of them in the movies than men, because the men have been domineering the roles for 100 years. And that's the last thing I'm going to bore you with. You guys go have a good time. All right, we'll talk to you next masterclass. I'll see you before the semester starts on December 27th, and we're studying auteur Quentin Tarantino. Should be pretty cool. Take my class if you want to. Sign up at Coursera. Take the final. We'll do this. All right, there's 16 classes coming, and it's December 27th. Thank you, guys.